Facts.
that telling me that I shouldn't say the West, I should say Western imperialism to differentiate it from, oppressive Western policies. Okay, I don't know if you've ever known me to be imprecise in my choice of words. I say the West because that's what I mean. I also saw someone saying on the same video that I'm just bitter. How astute of you. Of course I'm bitter. I'm a Westerner. That means that I was taught a fictitious story my whole childhood about the West. And I didn't actually get any sort of decent education until I was an adult. And it wasn't provided to me. I had to search it out. I had to find it out. It was hidden from me. And what I found out was that I actually come from a civilization that never civilized. I came from a so-called civilization that is identical to abject primitivity. I came from a so-called civilization that's what you would expect from people who were raised by wolves. It's like your culture was dropped on its head as a baby. The brain of this so-called civilization has a deformed amygdala. The prefrontal cortex of the Western mind is missing. It's like a psychopath. So yes, I learned that I came from a so-called civilization, a so-called culture, that completely failed to develop. We're like the moronic bully in school who pushes people around as a kid, never pays attention, never learns, never studies, and never changes. So that everyone that he bullied, eventually surpasses him in adulthood, in every conceivable way, in maturity, in skills, in knowledge, in intelligence, in career, in health, in relationships, in everything. While he remains a stunted man-child who nobody can stand, no one wants to be around. Well, that's the West. Every Westerner has been deprived by their ancestors of a history that they can be proud of. A history that gives them a chronological record of their development, their advancement as a people. Because the West is just as primitive, just as barbaric, just as shallow, just as selfish, petty, deceitful, and immature as they were 3,000 years ago. So I say West because I mean the West. You can't divorce imperialism from the so-called civilization that imperialism emerged from. This isn't even just about the endless crimes of the West against the rest of the world. No, I'm talking about the whole so-called culture, the so-called civilization that has utterly and miserably failed its own people. You literally had to suppress everyone else, oppress everyone else, burn, loot, and destroy everything that everyone else had, everything that they built, that everyone else built, everything that they accomplished, just so you could try to make your so-called civilization look developed. Only by de-developing everyone else. You had to tie their hands and feet just to pretend that you could beat them in a race. And again, it's just like some dumb bully in school who cheats on his test, cheats on his homework. Okay, you'll get an A on the test, but you're still dumb. And you won't progress educationally at all. That's not going to benefit you. Your appearance of knowledge on a test you cheated on is short-lived. Whereas you can lock the smart kid in the gym locker, but he's still the smart kid. I mean, imagine, you go all around the world and smash up everything that other civilizations built, loot what they built, pillage, steal, even steal their ideas and their concepts and their philosophies. And then you sit on top of this mountain of stolen goods and declare yourself to be rich because of your own merit. And imagine telling this lie to your children, to your own children, to your grandchildren, generation after generation. How do you think that's going to go? You didn't invest in creating actual merit. You cheated, you lied, you stole, you brutalized. And then you tell your own people that everyone else in the world has nothing and you have everything because of how much better you are than everyone else. How long is that lie sustainable? I mean, these are people who actually have civilizations, who actually created and built and accomplished and didn't just pillage and plunder. And there's still those people today, even though you have oppressed them, there's still those same people. And you're still the way you are. Wallahi, the West let its people down. The West let their own people down. I mean, a good example actually is African Americans. I don't know if you can think of a people who were more held back, more deprived, more sabotaged than African Americans. You took everything away from them and took them away from everything. They started in your country at less than zero, literally regarded and treated as subhuman, not allowed to learn to read or write or anything for hundreds of years. But you see, they come from a people of accomplishment to one degree or another, not a people of piracy and theft and appropriation. They come from a people who created and built and developed in their own countries, in their own land. And even though you did everything that you could possibly do to suppress them, to hold them down, to hold them back, and you're still doing that until today, nevertheless, I don't think anyone can dispute the fact that African Americans have become a global cultural superpower. Culturally, they're a superpower. Whatever cultural soft power that America has in the global South, it's African American. And China, one of the most ancient civilizations on earth, over 4,000 years as an organized civilization. You tried to destroy them, tried to poison that society with opium. America has tried for decades to destabilize and undermine and sabotage China. And they're totally surpassing. Today, they're surpassing you in everything. Their technology is better than yours. Their relations with the rest of the world are better than yours. Their economy is healthier than yours. Their schools are better than yours. Because they are a people with a history of actual homegrown accomplishment and development. And people like this, with a history like this, with a legacy like this, simply cannot be held back for any length of time by a people who do not have a similar history, people who have never actually invested in their own civilizational development. And that's the West. You're going to get left behind. You're going to get surpassed, and you are going to end up being nothing more than a footnote in history, because the peoples of the world who have genuinely developed civilizations cannot be kept down indefinitely. No one, for example, bounced back from Western imperialism and colonization faster than the Muslims, because our foundations are too strong. Our history is too strong. Our achievements are too many. Our culture is too rich. Our beliefs are too powerful. You could only inflict superficial damage on us. The whole history of Western colonialism in the Muslim world only amounts to a flesh wound. Our empire was never based on being a political entity. Political governance was a byproduct of belief. Our empire was an empire of faith. And that empire remains completely intact today. And it will always be intact. But everything that you call Western civilizational achievement is stolen. From your architecture to your philosophy. You are appropriators, cheaters. Even your Greco-Roman so-called philosophers, who themselves took from the Egyptians, even these foundational thinkers of what you like to call Western philosophy, if it had been left to you, they would have all been left in the dustbin of history, if it weren't for the Muslims. We taught you what they said, and when you learned it according to Muslim interpretation and correction. Their ideas passed through us before they ever reached you. So even your so-called enlightenment, your discovery that reason and rationality are things that exist, well, you didn't discover that. We taught you that. And we were able to teach you that even before any Muslim ever read Plato or Aristotle, because the Muslims are people who have always deeply invested in their own intellectual development. So the Enlightenment, Europe's big eureka moment, was just copied and pasted. You're fakers. The only way that you can ever have an idea is to take it from someone who has ideas. And you've been historically incredibly stubborn about not developing, not maturing, not civilizing. It's really remarkable. I mean, look, even Christianity, when they tried to spread Christianity, even this corrupted version of the teachings of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, the Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, when they tried to spread this in Europe, they cravenly adapted it to incorporate already existing pagan ideas, polytheistic beliefs, festivals, practices, and so on, until it bore no resemblance whatsoever, not only to the, didn't bear any resemblance not only to the original teachings of the Prophet Jesus alayhi salam, but not even to the version of Christianity that's followed in the Middle East.
So, I hope you listened and listened well, because of teaching and history is more than what you can tell. So please listen and just know the truth is the authority.